Well, good evening, all. And Vicki, let me begin by thanking you for the remarkable invitation to be here this evening and to stand at this podium and get a chance to express my feelings and my emotions about my dearest of friends, Ted Kennedy. Tonight, of course, we gather to celebrate the incredible American story of a man who made so many other American stories possible, my friend Teddy. And unlike his beloved brothers, Sister Kathleen, his nephews, Teddy was granted the gift of time. He lived, and the Irish poet suggested, as he suggested, not just to comb gray hair, but white hair. And if you look at what he achieved in his 77 years, it seems at times as if he lived for centuries. Generations of historians will, of course, chronicle his prolific efforts on behalf of so many others around the world. I will leave that to them. Tonight, I just want to share a few thoughts about my friend. And what a friend he has been. A friend of unbridled sympathy and empathy, of optimism, and of full-throated joy. Examples, of course, of that friendship are legion. I remember many years ago, a close friend of mine passed away. Teddy didn't know him at all. I was asked to say a few words at that funeral. As long as I live, I'll never forget that as I stood at that pulpit and looked out over that gathering that day, there was Teddy sitting in the back of that church. He obviously wasn't there for my friend. He was there for me at my time of loss. That was what it was like to have Teddy in your corner. When our daughters Grace and Christina were born, the very first call I received was from my friend Teddy. When I lost the Iowa caucuses last year, not that anyone ever thought I was going to win them, the first call I received was from Teddy and Vicki. When my sister passed away last month, the first call I received was from Teddy, even though he was well into the final summer of his own life. And 2 weeks ago, as I was coming out of surgery, I got a call from Teddy. His unique voice as loud and booming as ever. Well, he roared, between going through prostate cancer surgery and doing town hall meetings, you made a great choice, he said. And though he was dying, of course, and I was hurting, believe me, he had me howling with laughter in the recovery room as he made a few choice comments I cannot repeat this evening about catheters. As we all know, of course, Teddy had a ferocious sense of humor. In 1994, he was in the political fight of his life against Mitt Romney. Before the first debate, held in Boston's, of course, historic Faneuil Hall, I was with Teddy and Vicki that evening, and his team, and along with everyone else, we were offering our advice before the debate began. Teddy, I cautioned, we Irish always talk too fast. Even if you know the answer to a question, you have to pause, slow down, and at very least appear to be thoughtful. Well, out he went. And of course, the very first question was something like this. Senator, you've served the Commonwealth of Massachusetts for nearly 35 years in the United States Senate. Explain then why this race is so close. Teddy paused. And paused. And paused. 5 seconds. 10 seconds. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, he answered the question. After the debate, I said, good Lord, Teddy, I didn't mean pause that long after the first question. What in the world were you thinking of? He looked at me, and I'll never forget it, and replied, he said, I was thinking, that's a damn good question. Why is this race so close? Well, in these last months of his life, I've just so treasured our conversations. At 6:30 a.m. in the morning of July 16th, only a few weeks ago, the morning after his Senate Health Care Committee finished 5 weeks of exhausting work on a bill that he had written, by the way, and that I believe will be one of the greatest of his many legacies, my phone rang in the morning. There was Teddy, beyond ecstatic that we had finished our work and that his committee had been the first to report a bill. Always the competitor, of course. Teddy was never maudlin during these last number of months or self-pitying about his health and his condition. But he was always fully aware of what was happening to him. Every Irishman's dream, of course, is to attend our own eulogies. That's why we call the obituary page the Irish sports page, for those of you not familiar. And I know he enjoyed a uniquely Celtic kick out of hearing people who abhorred his politics say incredibly nice things about him along the way. Volumes, of course, will be published by those attempting to unlock the mystery of why Teddy was such an effective legislator over the years. Was it his knowledge of parliamentary procedure? Was it his political instincts? His passionate oratory? His staff? What was it? Please let me save the pundits and the political scientists some time and all of you some money and tell you what Teddy's secret was. People liked him. Now, he always had a great staff. He always had a great staff and great ideas. But that only counts for so much in the United States Senate if you lack the respect and admiration of your colleagues. And Teddy earned that respect. You'll recall he arrived in Washington as the 30-year-old brother of a sitting United States President and the Attorney General of the United States. Many people drew their conclusions about him before he spoke his first words in the United States Senate. And over the years, of course, he became a target of partisans who caricatured him as a dangerous liberal. Now, liberal he was, and very, very proud of it, I might add. But once you got to know him, as his colleagues did in the Senate, you quickly learned Teddy was no caricature. He was a warm, passionate, thoughtful, tremendously funny man who loved his country deeply and loved the United States Senate. If you ever needed to find Teddy in the Senate chamber, all you had to do was to listen for that distinctive thunderclap of a laugh echoing across the hallowed halls as he charmed his colleagues. He served in the Senate, as all of you know, for almost half a century, alongside liberals and conservatives, Democrats and Republicans. And he then befriended, as I said, all of those with equal gusto. It's, of course, great to see his friends, Senator Orrin Hatch and John McCain, here this evening. It is to their, of course, credit that they so often supported Teddy's efforts. And I say in some jest, it is to Teddy's great credit that he rarely supported